All right, in this video, I'm going to go over the importance of faith and what faith plays in your manifestation journey. And I'm going to go over 6 specific things that you can do to make sure that you are moving along in faith versus succumbing to fear that will basically cause self-sabotage and stop you along your journey itself. Okay, so let's get right into it. How many times have you stopped yourself from going after exactly what you want simply because you just couldn't wrap your head around how the heck it would happen? So you end up putting the idea to the side. You actually neglect the idea, essentially shelve it, so to speak, and you ignore it. That thing you've always wanted that's really in your heart is being rejected by you, when in order for any idea to become physically manifested, the idea has to be consented to and accepted to be true first. You can still consent and accept something to be true even though you don't know the how. So please take note of that. Like a physical seed that's kept in an envelope or in a tin can, instead of the seed being planted in soil where it can germinate and grow, your dreams, which are spiritual seeds that are essentially unconsciously rejected, will die before given the chance to be nurtured and brought to full life. There is a big chance that your dreams, which are spiritual seeds, that they will not come true until you start to awaken more. But how does one accept an idea and consent an idea to be true when there may be very little to no evidence of it becoming true? Seems crazy, right? Well, it depends on your level of awareness and understanding of things. It also boils down to one word, and that is faith. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, well, easier said than done, let's take a deeper dive into faith. You probably have heard a saying that both faith and fear are invisible. Is that not true? And yet both require belief. It really does become that black and white. We always have the choice. Do I believe in faith or do I believe in fear? When we're dealing with uncertainty, when we're dealing with the unknown, the fear can just creep up and smack you in the face. So let's focus on what we do know. Let's become clear and certain on some things. We know that whatever is focused on grows. Whatever is ignored eventually dies. For example, if we focus on, let's say, health, then all the ideas on how to become more healthy and the actions related to health will begin to saturate the mind, and the body will take action. Let's say the thought of health makes one feel energized and happy. Now remember, emotion is energy in motion. The thought and feelings then leads to action. What if someone succumbs to the fear though, and they may not be aware that it's even happening? Because immediately they begin to think of thoughts of, well, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or this is my past, or whatever. Other thoughts may snowball, like, what will people think of me if I can't pull it off and I fail? What if I lose all of my money? That right there, just those types of thoughts, will convince anyone to not take any action. In other words, no nurturance of a thought, of a dream, and therefore no vision, no goal, no dream. This is why it's so important to consciously, intentionally cultivate faith. No wonder why Napoleon Hill highlighted faith as one of the 13 main principles that the world's most successful people on the planet embody and live by. So let's get into it. How do I consciously cultivate faith so that I do not succumb to the debilitating effects of fear. And here are 6 tips. Number 1, fall more in love with your purpose, with your vision, and with your goal. Pay attention to them. Journal on them. Visualize them often. Love them. Love heals. Love is powerful. Let your purpose, your vision, and your goals consume your consciousness to such a degree that any fear that pops up, that fear would seem like a weak shadow compared to the brilliance of your goal, your vision, your dream that shines like a massive healing light in your life. Number 2, get more familiar with the invisible. Understand the invisible more. Let me explain. Sometimes we succumb to fear because we only go by what our 5 senses can perceive in the outside world. We think it's total reality, but it is not, my friends. Think about this. Do you have a hard time believing in electricity? Do you have a hard time believing in microwaves? For those of you who use a microwave and see what it can do, most likely not. You just know that microwaves exist and it heats up your food when you put your food in the machine, right? And you click the button. Do you have a hard time believing in the phone signals when you call or receive a call? No. Do you have a hard time believing in satellite signals? Can't be, right? Because there's internet. So these phone signals, satellite signals, microwaves, and electricity, they're all invisible, aren't they? And yet, they actually do exist. Did you know scientifically there are variations of the colors red and green, and I do believe other primary colors, that exist in the universe, but our human eyes cannot see them? For example, there is infrared. There are also sounds that are of a frequency that our ears cannot hear as human beings, correct? But animals like dogs can, you see. So those shades of red and green exist, but we cannot perceive them. Just because we cannot perceive them does not mean they do not exist. Did you know that out of the entire universe, we can only measure and perceive 4% of it with our 5 senses and the current technology we have on planet Earth? Did you know that? The rest of the 96% of the universe has yet to be, quote unquote, discovered. For now, we label this unknown as dark matter. Understanding the invisible helps us understand the grander scheme of reality. Your dream is actually a reality, an invisible reality, and with the correct observation and knowledge and understanding, it will become physical reality. And this brings me to my next point, number 3. Study the metaphysical side of the universe along with the scientific side of the universe. I have seen people's beliefs strengthen exponentially, because belief is key, by understanding both aspects. So you may have seen my video on how the use of thought and emotion, as according to universal law, shapes what we experience. These are spiritual laws. For example, the golden rule: do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. It's also known as the law of sowing and reaping, or the law of the harvest, or the law of karma. In other words, what goes around comes around. The universal law of cause and effect. If a person is aware that what they put out will, by law, and this is all caps here, by law, boomerang back to them, that they will receive as they have given out, the great realization may dawn upon their mind or consciousness that, oh my God, OMG, I actually create my own blessings and I create my own curses. I am actually a lot more powerful than I ever thought I ever was, and I better use this power wisely and very intentionally. Scientifically, they now know that thought affects matter. Did you know that? They have always been interrelated, mind and matter. In quantum physics, subatomic particles like electrons have been found to act like waves of energy and particles of matter, depending if a person's consciousness is thinking about that electron or not. This has all been tested out in the labs over and over and over again. So with conscious awareness of the electron appears as a particle, becomes mass, it becomes matter. And then when we ignore the electron, it disappears as a wave of energy in the universal field or quantum field when not observed. Remember, when we focus on something, it grows, meaning it appears more and more in the physical realm. And when something is ignored, it will disappear as a wave of energy and become invisible again. So to understand throughout spiritual teachings, throughout all major religions, throughout the many continents on the globe, there is a golden thread of wisdom that ties everything together, and it is all backed by science as well. To study these things well, consistently, will actually neutralize doubt and skepticism. Tip number 4. Within the spirit of nurturance and observation, take an aligned action as if your goal or dream was already here. Action itself nurtures faith. You want to put something into motion in the physical realm that is in alignment with your dream. You act with what you have now, with the level of knowledge you have now, with the level of awareness you have now. Just take aligned action. Let me give you an example. I was once training a team in the insurance industry, and we had been covering something called self-image. How we perceive ourselves, the identities we hold, how we carry ourselves as if the dream was manifested. After one of the trainings, one of the team members asked me to look at a new car he had just bought. It was out in the parking lot. And as I was congratulating him on his new purchase, he said this to me. My old self would have thought I can't afford this car. He goes on to tell me that he decided not to think that way anymore, and he decided to make a decision along the lines of the reality he was creating. That reality was a 6-figure-a-month reality. He decided, I can't afford this car, and he bought the car despite having a tight budget at the time. Within 2 weeks, this team member closed on 4 times as much business in one day compared to what he had done the whole previous year. His commissions for that one day was in the tens of thousands of dollars. He took action in faith. He bought the car. He carried out the same type of business building and sales activities as before, but this time yielding a substantially different result. There is nothing more powerful, my friends, than faith in action. This is tip number 5. Protect your ideas. Don't just share them with anyone. It may feel lonely, but be selective with whom you share your big ideas and dreams with. When people are confronted with other people who want to break out of the norm, those who are observing this may unconsciously feel threatened with that other person's transformation, because for them it shows them the ways they can change too, and change can be very uncomfortable. By you talking about how you are breaking free from your current matrix that these other people are a part of, you may trigger in others how in secret they also had dreams, and yet they did not act on them. And for them to see you have dreams and have the courage to tell another person about it, and for you to act on them, may trigger them to question themselves. Why haven't I? They may be asking themselves, why haven't I actually gone after my dreams? It could be out of jealousy, ignorance, and yes, possibly to protect you. I wouldn't discount this, that they will discourage you. Now, depending on how strong you are, you may be able to handle that type of discouragement. I will say this though, that if you are new to this type of mindset and you're still developing your energetics, your energetic alignment with your stretch goals and dreams, at least just in the beginning, be selective with who you share your thoughts with. And now we come to point number 6. Last tip is to intentionally connect with your God. Now, I am intentionally using the word God. It doesn't bother me in any way, but if it does bother you, then swap out God for another term that suits you better, like universe, like source energy. Maybe it's the quantum field, maybe it's infinite intelligence, maybe it's universal mind, maybe it's your ancestors or your spirit guides, whatever it is for you. Some may even call it the superconscious mind. The most important thing is to get out of your own way, and I will say your own ego way. Get out of your own ego way and acknowledge that there is this powerful intelligence that is all around you, that is within you, that is without you, and is always flowing to and through you. It is this supreme intelligence and consciousness that is really what is in charge. We are all just instruments of this power, of this intelligence. And the more you can cultivate your relationship with your God, the more you're able to let go and let God, or simply just let go. It takes faith to let go, doesn't it? In closing, faith is a knowing. Faith is you feeling peace even though there is chaos before you. Faith is acknowledging there is a great intelligence at play, and it's not all about you making it happen. Faith is love, and with love, there is always connection. You have never been separated by what you want. Faith is consistently being connected to a higher power that is always guiding you. I hope you found this video helpful. Comment below with what does faith mean to you and how do you keep the faith? And what were your greatest takeaways from this video? Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.